Hey guys, and welcome to another showdown between myself and the mighty Wyvern. This time I'm going to be in charge of the forces of the Wood Elves up against Wyvern's Empire. And we are going to be on Oakenhammon here. Pretty open map, so I was a little bit worried about maybe some artillery coming in. But we are going to be trying out a few of the new units, characters and the like, so it should be a good fun game. So for my main battle line, we've gone pretty cheap and cheerful. Eternal Guards with shields dotted all the way along. These guys are simply here to hold the line and allow the rest of my build to actually pack a punch and do some pretty heavy damage. We have a cheeky little Spell Singer of Life in the back here, just with Earthblood as well. And we have the double Way Watchers. Now, Way Watchers have got a 50 gold points increase, which I think is completely fair, as now there's a lot more tools you can use to protect them. So I think it's a tiny bit of a nerf, but, you know, nothing too bad. They still punch like an absolute truck and will kill pretty much anything they do indeed see. We have triple Great Stag Knights, and these are probably my favourite unit in the new DLC as far as looks wise. They look incredibly badass. They have some really cool charge and attack animations as well. Heavy cavalry, incredibly fast, and pack a very deadly punch. Only 60 armor though. They do have physical resistance as well as silver shields, which makes them a little bit more durable. You can see they do have Vanguard as well, one hiding in the distance there. But you don't want to put them in, toe-to-toe against too many elite enemy cavalry. They're really much better at killing infantry, at least in what I've discovered so far. We also have the Sisters of Twilight on top of their mighty dragon, which is probably my second favourite coolest looking unit, simply because of the first sister that is right in the head of the dragon. Looks pretty crazy indeed. We are going to be bringing Eagle Quiver here, which is a magic missile, very similar to Arrows of Kurnos, but packs a little bit more of a punch, I think. We also have the Breath, of course, as well as Conjoined Destiny. Now, Conjoined Destiny is rather expensive, and I don't think it's always going to pay for itself, but on the dragon, it is certainly viable. So once you get below 20% hit points, after 30 seconds you get a really nice burst of health. The only problem, of course, is surviving that 30 seconds, which can be a little bit tough. So yeah, looking pretty badass up in the skies there. For my opponent, we have a ton of spearmen and swordsmen dotted all the way along the front line. Again, pretty cheap and cheerful chaff, while the rest of the build does the actual damage, although we do have the Sigma Suns in that central pocket. We have the MVPs of this matchup for quite a long time have been the Huntsmen. They have Stalk, fantastic against large threats with low armor, which of course Wood Elves do bring in droves. So we have triple Huntsman here, all of that lovely anti-large and the like. We have Knights of the Blazing Sun into the absolute sunset here. 4 units, in fact, of the flaming Knights. Should be pretty good up against those big nasty trees and the like you can bring. We also have a Bright Wizard with Flaming Sword of Ruin, Cascading Firecloak and Fireball. And up in the sky on his Pegasus we do have Boris Todbringer. And he of course is going to be bringing his items, the White Cloak of Ulrich, for that negative speed, which will make him pretty hard to catch, and negative melee attack, as well as the Rune Fang and all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's get this battle underway. So as you can see, the Way Watchers just going to be scooting forward a little bit, and I'm going to be dragging back those Great Stag Knights, realising there's no backline really to get into, or at least I won't be able to get into the Huntsmen very well. So I'm going to be pulling those guys back and try and protect the Great Stags. Now, the Sisters, of course, have 2 shots, which I'm sure you're all aware of. The Talons of Dusk, which is more of a burst attack. Think of a long-range shotgun, which does apply poison. There we can see it going in the distance, better at hunting down units. And Talons of Dawn, which is armor-sundering single shots, which is better at hunting down units of cavalry and characters, although I have something to say on that towards the end of the battle, and we'll do a tiny bit of testing because I discovered something which I'm not sure if it's meant to work in the same way as it actually does, but we'll get to that a bit later. In come the Great Stag Knights, going for a charge on the Knights of the Blazing Sun, doing some massive burst damage out of the gate, although we are of course supported by a lot of archer fire coming in, but so are the Empire as well, and you can see Knights of the Blazing Sun getting absolutely crumped here, but the Great Stag Knights taking huge burst damage coming in from the Huntsman, and we even have a Flaming Sword of Ruin as well coming down. So the Great Stag Knights are going to have to retreat. They did a pretty good job there, allowing the Way Watchers to continue firing a little while longer. They even got some good damage on the Bright Wizard. Now along the front line, of course, it's just going to be an absolute chaff fest. There are some Knights in the mix, but for the most part, Eternal Guard will just hold the line up against these pesky state troops. But apart from that, Huntsman doing fantastic burst damage on top of the Great Stags. He's really trying to focus them down, and I can't push forward at the moment as I'm desperately trying to get to grips with these Knights of the Blazing Sun and protect my Way Watchers. And the Sisters have even darted into combat, and this is one of the advantages of having them on their dragon, is they can come in and pack a absolute wallop, especially on the charge, terrifying away Knights of the Blazing Sun. butchering them to the last man, although we do have a cascading fire cloak going down as we speak. Great Stag Knights getting a little bit clumped up by myself here, allowing the Huntsman to continuously rain fire into the rear there, and they're not the tankiest with only that 60 armour, and even as I said earlier with the physical resist, silver shields, they're pretty large targets, and of course troops now do kind of, or cavalry in general, struggle to push through troops quite so easily, allowing these Huntsmen to really rain down a Hellstorm. But battle very even so far. Eternal Guard doing okay in the front lines, nothing to write home about. Sigma Suns, though, are starting to carve their way through pretty nicely. We are trying to focus down this Bright Wizard now with our Way Watchers. Looks like the Great Stag Knights as well are getting a fat, overcast Earth Blood down on them to try and heal them up. And Boris is in a little bit of dangerous territory. He's currently surrounded by Eternal Guard, and if the Dragon gets to grips to it with him, it's going to be game over for Boris. However, at the moment, it looks like the Sisters are currently trying to deal with the Knights of the Blazing Sun, and they do indeed fire in combat as well, so they're going to continue to unload those shots once they do move in to engage. Great Stag Knights are starting to push forward once more, though we do notice some Knights of the Blazing Sun popping out, going to intercept us as we're trying to dart into the Huntsman, so I'm trying to run these guys over as quickly as possible for allowing me access into that juicy back line. But Wyvern doing a fantastic job with these Knights of the Blazing Sun, kind of darting from all angles and protecting his Huntsman very well. Here we go, and we can see the second, well, not arrows of Kernos, the something quiver. I'll go check what the name is in a sec. Come down the Bright Wizard doing some pretty good burst damage, and I think that's going to be a really useful ability. The Eagle Quiver there is rather expensive, but popping it down on artillery pieces or indeed on squishy characters like wizards is really going to pack a massive punch. Great Stags fall in here as they dart back and forth, trying to dodge some missile fire and bounce around the combat. It's a game that's still incredibly even, as Boris is taking quite a lot of damage. Big Fireball, though, is going to hurt the Sisters quite badly there, and a Breath Attack does come in, clipping a few of the Sigma Suns, but not doing anything too horrific, and the Spellslinger herself is getting rather low. Way Watchers are pulling back, and so are the Great Stags as well. Huntsman getting pretty low on ammunition at this point. If we look around the battlefield, there's not too much left standing for me. We have a couple of Eternal Guard. We're desperately just trying to kite back and protect our Way Watchers where possible. Another Earth Blood indeed is going down. Great Stag Knights up to 54 kills, which is pretty impressive stuff. And scaring off Boris once more. Actually, he's indeed going after the Spellslinger, trampling her to the ground. And yeah, Footlords don't get pushed around as much now, but they still will get knocked to the ground, especially those like Elves who don't have such good mass. It's a little bit different for someone like a Dwarf, for example. Great Stag Knights have been forced off the field here, as another Fireball is going to go into the Sisters of Twilight, doing some pretty huge damage there. And, you know, the big dragon is still a dragon, only 50 armor, so it's a large target and relatively squishy. And all of a sudden, the game is going quite heavily against us at this point, but those single shots coming in, trying to snipe out Boris, doing some pretty decent damage. But as I'm going to show you after this battle, I think it's actually a bit of a mistake to use the single shot even against characters. So at this range, it is a really good idea to use the single shot. It's quite armor piercing, good focus, hits often as well, doing some lovely burst damage to Boris. But if you activate the Talons of Dusk when you go into combat, it is just far superior. So even if you're in combat against a large creature, for example, because you're point blank range shooting into them, every single shot is going to hit, and the burst damage can be rather scary indeed, whereas I think the first shot should only be used at long range, but we'll get to that a little bit later with some testing. As the game does go on now, Boris is hunting down that poor little Spellslinger here. Huntsman as well unleashing a few shots, which I'm quite happy to do because they're really low on ammunition, and we still have the Sisters, and if they can pop that heal, I'm in a really good position, because if the Huntsman run out of ammunition, there is simply nothing that can deal with the Sisters, and that lovely burst damage to Boris as well should be able to out-kite him and bring him down rather easily. But balance power is getting danger low for us right here, and the Sisters of Twilight looks like they're actually going to break here to army losses, which is so tragic. If they'd taken a tiny bit more damage and got that hill, I think we still had a pretty good chance, as the Huntsmen were low on ammunition. But very well played to Wyvern, a true champ, and he was really playing very good when we played. Battered me left and right quite a few of the games, and hopefully we should see more of him on the channel as well. He's a YouTuber himself. There'll be a link in the description down below to his channel if you want to check his stuff out. Really cool guy, was a super welcoming and chilled out dude. Anyway, for the units in general, Great Stag Knights unfortunately didn't really pay for themselves, but I think they have fantastic potential. I don't know if I'm ever going to be great with them because they do require a lot of a micro and care, and you can see the Huntsman, massive MVPs here. The value and damage they dealt is crazy across the board. You can see 2,400 worth of gold damage there onto the Stag Knights, did some fantastic stuff. But at the same time, the Great Stag Knights managed to neuter the effectiveness of Knights of the Blazing Sun, and I think that's something they're going to be able to do in multiple matchups, also against units like Bretonia, factions who tend to just overrun you with mass amounts of cavalry. I think they're going to be a really good blocker who is also able to pack and to deliver quite a heavy punch all round. I'm definitely going to try rolling a unit out with some Zolts to give them the flesh to stone as well, which I think would be very, very powerful. As for the Sisters of Twilight, I'm a massive fan of them all round. They pretty much always seem to make their value back gold-wise. They're by no means massively OP or anything. I think just with good micro and stuff, they're pretty deadly and can snipe out characters and at least get some good value all round. However, I think, people, as time goes on, will develop tactics to kind of drag them down a little bit easier. Tempest and flying units in general. I found flying paladins in particular can hunt them down very well, so I'm sure other similar units can, because they are still, elves on an elven dragon, so it's pretty squishy all round, and you can see the huntsman there as well did some massive burst damage to them, but very well played to Wyvern. Now, quickly, let's hop over to the testing and open up a custom battle. So if we do pop over here, the new background, by the way, is absolutely awesome. So we'll go down now to the Heralds of Ariel there. Get the sisters. Let's put them on their dragon. And we can keep that. Doesn't really matter. And let's say, Malekith. We'll give him something on the ground as well. And I should probably have something on the ground. Do-do-do. There we go. So we'll take Malekith. We're going to take him on his mighty dragon. Give him no items, no abilities. So he is still a little bit cheaper. Actually, if we take off that, there we go. So 2,450 up against 2,450. Malekith, of course, is a spellcaster, but on his mighty dragon, I believe he does have quite a bit better melee attack and melee defense. Look, 58, 48 up against 48 and 40. So in theory, I suppose. I mean, there's poison on both sides and a lot of other effects. And often you're not going to be charging these two guys directly into each other. But I just want to showcase the different shot potential here. So as we load in, just Troll Country, which is a good map because we can get right into it straight away. And I'm not sure if this is how this is intended to be used. So let's just hide you back there so you don't get involved. So we're going to dance forward now towards Malekith. We will switch to the Talons of Dusk, which is going to do basically 0 damage to him at long range. But as we get close, you're going to see the shotgun effect that I am talking about. And this is something me and Wyvern discovered because I had a paladin chasing down the sisters, annihilating them, doing a fantastic job, hunting them down. And the single shot was doing decent damage to him. But as soon as he switched to this shot, the shotgun effect really came into play. And it was some really scary stuff. So hopefully these bleak swords aren't going to end up taking the shots and that we are going to indeed find to Malekith. As I said, there you go, bam. The first shot does come in and the second shot. And look at his health just absolutely chunk there. He's still doing pretty decent in combat. Of course, he's a little sneaky breath attack straight away. But if we fast forward, you're going to see his health consistently get bursted down by those shots. Some of them are kind of being focused down on the bleak swords instead. But it is going to allow them to duel with much better combatants all round. And yeah, Malekith has taken a bit of a beating at this point. I think without the breath attack, he does lose this kind of 9 times out of 10. Looks like he had victory that time, but in most of my previous tests, I think like 4 out of 5 times the sisters actually win this engagement, and it's some pretty crazy stuff for sure that the burst damage they can do up against a combatant they should be losing to in melee rather effectively. So perhaps it's meant to be in the game like that, perhaps it's not, who knows, but I highly recommend switching to the scatter shot against large targets and even foot characters and the like when you are close instead of the single shot. And guys, hope you did enjoy this glorious content. Let's watch some spearmen die as we close out the stream here. So I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, feel free to give the video a big old thumbs up and subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content. We're going to be having a ton of early access battles coming to you guys over the next couple of days, all the way up until release, as well as streams and all that good stuff. So is anything you want to see in particular, maybe something that other YouTubers haven't highlighted that you really want to see and know, feel free to drop a comment down below and let me know what you would like me to make a video on. And guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.